This module is related to the dynamics of macroeconomic organization. Here we are going to discuss why some governments are more successful than others. Whenever we are going to understand or try to understand the different type of governments which are interested to ensure economic change into their system, they want to take all or bring all the economic changes which they actually incorporated in their objectives, and they want to achieve these objectives by ensuring these economic changes. So these economic changes can be possible through two possible ways. Number one is the government. Either the government is going to ensure that whatever or what kind of economic change is needed by a given government, by a given country, whether this is going to be ensured through the government policies, through government actions. On the other side, market economy was considered, and in case of market economy, Adam Smith has actually mentioned that market economy will automatically lead towards the change in terms of economic change, and that kind of change which is required mean to say, just like every country wants to grow up and they want to have more resources, they want to get more employment, they want to generate more output. So all these kind of objectives can be achieved through market economy. So the government, the idea of government, that government can do that thing more effectively through their policies, was mentioned by the James Stewart. And on the other side, the market economy is the better strategy. It was mentioned by the Adam Smith. So actually that was mentioned during 1767 by the James Stewart, that state had a critical role to play in the process of economic development. So this means actually state is not going to be absent whenever economic process is going on, and therefore they have to intervene and they have to design the policies according to the requirement of that particular country, and what kind of targets are required, what kind of economic indicators or economic objectives need to be achieved. All these need to be done through the government policies. On the other side, Adam Smith during 1776 mentioned that market plays effective role, and that is actually guided by the invisible hand. So the laissez-faire concept of the laissez-faire, that there is no need of the government to interfere into the market economy, because market economy by itself is going to fulfill all those objectives which need to be fulfilled for the economic development process by a given country. So that idea was given by the Adam Smith. What has happened actually, if we observe the history and empirics, the reality, the Adam Smith idea was actually followed by different countries. On the other side, while we observe the industrial revolution, actually industrial revolution has proved that whenever the governments, they are going to intervene and they are going to make policies, they are going to give guidelines, then industrial economies are successful in terms of achieving high level of incomes, high level of growth and development process. So actually these two considerations are always there. Whenever we are talking about the market, then it was considered that the markets have their own self mechanism. Demand supply forces are going to play their role by itself. But what has happened whenever historically and empirically it was followed, this idea was followed, actually we observe the world wars as well as decline in economic progress and more poverty. Such kind of outcomes were observed. So this means that purely dependence on the market economy is not going to pay properly, or this is not the only logic which we need to follow. On the other side, state leads to development in the industrial world. That was actually proved through the industrial revolution. So it means automatically it became visible that government presence need to be justified, or it is justified. Just like if we observe from the beginning of the industrial revolution, Adam Smith by himself agreed on this statement: the state should bear full responsibility related to external security and internal order. And actually, these are the function of level of economic development and economic performance. That country which has high level of economic development or good economic performance, then their state can play more effective role. And this actually leads towards the government actions which are in form of allocator of different kind of resources, distributor. As a distributor, it can play its role as a stabilizer because much more variations we are observing in the economic process. And the coordinator, because different segment of society, different segment of economy, they need to be coordinated with each other to ensure that they are working consistently. On the other side, Dr. Erhard mentioned, in modern times, a responsible government cannot resign itself merely to being a night watchman. Such a perverted form of liberty would contain the seeds of disaster. Because it has happened. Most of the countries, you know that whenever the market economies are purely working without the supervision of the government, they lead towards more corruption. They lead towards more distortion. And actually, if we just depend upon these market forces, the outcome will be disaster. So actually, we need to understand the policies after Industrial Revolution, which were actually followed by UK and US. They opted free trade, and outcome was the world wars and economic decline. On other states actually try to follow the state management process, and this leads towards economic change, and which was promoted by the state in all industrial economies. Therefore, the outcome is there, which is going to prove empirically that interference by the state or policies made by the states or guideline or supervision provided by the states for the economic change is more effective, and it happened, it leads towards some positive results. So the government responsibility is certain. This question need to be answered under what conditions they are likely to discharge it most effectively. So this question needs to be answered, mean where and when government is there or it should be there to help the system to work in order. So actually, effectiveness of national governments need to be understood in this regard. So the government, one thing need to be clear here, that governments cannot make serious or systematic mistakes. It may be possible because that if a country is not growing properly and then mostly corrupt governments are going to be elected or corrupt people are going to be elected, then it may be mentioned that actually there is some systematic error in the process or in the system. So or government is going to repeat the errors again and again. So how it is possible? Because there are different type of politicians who are going to take the position of the government in different time of in different period of times, as well as different governments with different manifesto. They are joining that government. So how they can do the same errors or the same mistakes? So it is rare that it may happen. Mostly we can observe the causes which actually leads towards the loss of political independence. Because over the time, what has happened, the countries are losing their independence, and that means they are losing their control over their economy. So first important thing was the decision influenced by the external authority. So the internal authority is not going to make effective decision. External authorities have more influence, so you have to follow them. So therefore, automatically, political independence is going to reduce. Less protected or open economies, you are making your economy more open and doing more trade across other countries, and it leads towards specialization. And specialization actually is a function of development of other countries. Mean to say, whenever you are going to link with many other countries, if they are growing, your product demand is high, your product demand is going to rise, and therefore you need more specialization. So this process is going on. So it means your dependence is going to rise over the time. Membership of international treaties. So more the membership, more you are the part of different kind of international associations. You have to follow their rules and regulations and systems. Therefore, your independence is going to reduce or space is limited for you. Constitutional and institutional dynamism is another important element, because if your institutions are dynamic, they are capable to handle new kind of variations in the system, new realities. They are going to face different kind of new problems. They know how to handle these problems, how to manage them, how to get better outcomes of the worst situations. So, or just like the financial crisis, just like the economic crisis, how they are going to be managed. Though if institutions are capable to do that, then this means they can handle the situation. Otherwise, you are going to lose your political independence. Then the decentralized form of the government, where your fiscal policy grip, if it is lower, then definitely independence is low. National and social harmony, if it exists, definitely independence is high, otherwise it is low. So stakeholders need to be more consistent in terms of their objectives. Adaptability must be there in terms of policies, objectives and priorities, because it is going to make it sure. Otherwise, definitely political independence is going to be reduced. Opportunity cost of high caliber talented ones who are leaving the system whenever corrupt governments are existing or the system is not working efficiently, then they are not getting their true reward of their true efforts, therefore they are leaving. So all these scenarios actually showing that some countries are going to work more effectively, some other countries are not going to work more effectively. That difference is going to create the outcomes in terms of economic change.